The very first question that you should ask a chemtrailer, aside from when was the last time you took a shower, is how can you reliably distinguish between ordinary contrails and chemtrails? I have never heard a single convincing answer to this question. According to user DFNJ2015 on AboveTopSecret.com, the key distinguishing factor is the longevity of the trails we see in the sky. As he puts it, quote, "I've seen contrails my whole life, but the water vapor dissipates. After 1998 and 1999, the contrails stayed, forming hazing shrouds spanning the whole sky." End quote. The first thing to notice is his usage of purely anecdotal evidence. He's not saying, here's some scientific data which quantifies a material change in contrail formation over time. He's saying, based upon my faulty human memory, it seems to me like there's been a transformation over time. Even if he was correct about this, the explanation isn't necessarily that they're spraying chemtrails for nefarious reasons. Perhaps minor changes in the composition of jet fuel could account for this. Or maybe air traffic has simply increased over time, and thus contrail formation has also increased. If there is one key attribute which characterizes conspiracy theorists, it's unjustifiably leaping to conclusions and failing to rule out alternative explanations. And that's exactly what he's doing here. Fellow chemtrailer Boadicea agrees with his comrade, writing that, quote, "Contrails from high-altitude flying planes maintain a consistent length behind the plane, let's say twice the length of the plane. It does not remain and grow longer and wider as the plane travels, as opposed to the chemtrails I am talking about, which remain and grow longer and longer right behind the plane as it travels and slowly expand." End quote. These people are simply mistaken when they claim that atmospheric persistence equals chemtrails. In fact, the formation and duration of contrails will vary depending upon the local atmospheric conditions. As we read in an aircraft contrails fact sheet produced by NASA, the FAA, EPA, and NOAA, quote, "Contrails are line-shaped cloud, or condensation trails, composed of ice particles, that are visible behind jet aircraft engines, typically at cruise altitudes in the upper atmosphere. Contrails have been a normal effect of jet aviation since its earliest days. Depending on the temperature and the amount of moisture in the air at the aircraft altitude, contrails evaporate quickly if the humidity is low, or persist and grow if the humidity is high. Jet engine exhaust provides only a small portion of the water that forms ice in persistent contrails. Persistent contrails are mainly composed of water naturally present along the aircraft flight path." End quote. Oh yeah? Well, that's just what they want you to believe. Who are you going to trust, these reputable scientific organizations, or me, some random ignorant conspiracy theorist online? This explanation makes perfect sense. Think about ordinary cloud cover. Which types of clouds we see on a given day will vary depending upon the temperature and atmospheric conditions. Why would we expect any different from contrails? Demanding contrail uniformity would only begin to make sense on a planet which has atmospheric uniformity, which our planet most certainly does not. I don't know how things work on planet tinfoil, but this is not how things work on Earth. Where is the reputable scientific literature demonstrating that ordinary contrails can't persist in the atmosphere? I've never seen such research. All I've seen is evidence-free speculation by paranoid armchair conspiracy theorists. This is not how science is done, and this is not how rational conclusions are reached. There are countless videos on YouTube with titles like Ultimate Chemtrail Time-Lapse that show nothing more than ordinary contrail formation, yet the people in the comments section are falling over each other to say things like, "Oh my god, they're poisoning us and this proves it." Look at this shit. These are just contrails. What reason is there to believe that this is footage of anything more than contrail formation? And they show some close-ups of airplanes flying with contrails forming behind them, and they're like, that proves it. What do they expect contrail formation to look like, if not exactly this? No man, it's different. You can just, tell. How can you tell? You can't. You're just unjustifiably assuming that something ordinary is actually something sinister. If you want to see the height of conspiratorial absurdity, look no further than this guy complaining about chemtrails in video games. The title of this video is Chemtrails in Video Games. Let the brainwashing begin. And it was posted by YouTuber Hatrick Penry.
Okay, I just want to get this one posted up for educational and informational purposes. All the kids are playing this and seeing the chemtrails in the sky and thinking that it's perfectly normal.
I truly don't even know what to say to this, so we're just gonna move on. Something else they'll point to is the grid-like pattern of so-called chemtrails, which they believe lends credence to the idea that it's a deliberate campaign to thoroughly saturate the area with these chemicals. As Boadicea continues, quote, "I have watched multiple planes fly in a grid pattern and literally crisscross the sky, leaving behind chemtrails which expand into cloud cover," end quote. Sounds pretty convincing, right? Wrong. As we read in Weatherworld by Gordon Higgins, quote, "Contrails often follow the same directions because aircraft fly along designated routes called airways, somewhat like motorways in the sky," end quote. The conspiracy theorist absurdity quite literally reaches stratospheric heights when Boadicea maintains that he can in fact distinguish between chemtrails and contrails, yet can't explain how. Quote, "I just know what I've seen for myself. Because I'm within visual distance of the airport's flight path, I can and have literally observed the difference between typical contrails of the airlines and the so-called chemtrails of the planes flying in a grid pattern at the same time. I have lived close to an airport the majority of my life. There is a visible and lasting difference. I have no idea what that difference is, though," end quote. Very convincing. Presumably, if the difference is visible, you could see it and describe it to us. I mean, I'm no linguist, but isn't that what the word visible means? I'm on Patreon. There's a link in the description if you'd like to support my content. I would really appreciate it. There's also social media links in there if you want to follow me there. I'm trying to build up some of those followings. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe for more videos if you haven't already. Hit the bell, hit the like button, post a fucking comment. All that fun stuff that's standard on YouTube. You know the fucking drill. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this.